Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing something super exciting. I'm gonna sit down and actually explain to you my entire makeup routine. So we're gonna talk about all of my favorite techniques, my tips, my products, everything that I do for like a flawless everyday makeup look. I always like to start by clipping my hair back just because it always gets in the way and that kind of ruins the makeup, so always make sure to clip your hair back. Just as an FYI, I do have a lot of favorite products. Like I use a lot of products every single day, but I'm gonna be showing you like my go-tos recently or just like an everyday staple. Like this is what I go for. Okay, so I already did my skincare. I have all of my skincare, my SPF, everything is on. And for primer, this might be a little bit controversial, but I actually don't use primer. I feel like my skin and my makeup just goes on better when it's just on a natural, just everyday face. And primers tend to mess up my makeup. Like, for example, the Milk Hydro Grip is really popular and famous. Does not work for me. It just does not work. So I like to use other things instead. So for example, this is Charlotte Tilbury's Magic Serum. This stuff is great. It leaves such a flawless and like glowy finish. It doesn't pill on my skin and it doesn't really have that like primer sticky grip, but it works just fine. I also like to use this one. I think this has been discontinued. I've been looking for it everywhere and I can't find it. So honestly, I probably shouldn't be showing you this, but this is an example of something that I like to use. It's literally just a moisturizer with an SPF, but it's meant to be like a primer kind of. And then this one is also a favorite. This one's an e.l.f. It's like $6 and it works really great. It's a dupe for the Hydro Grip by Milk, but I feel like it works so much better. But for the sake of the video, we're just gonna go in with the Charlotte Tilbury serum, which is what I use on most days. It just gives me like such a pretty like glowy finish so that the makeup can sit on, and I just feel like I don't need a primer. Like most days my makeup lasts really well. If you do insist on adding a primer though, then I definitely recommend one of these two. They're just my favorite, but obviously there's a ton of primers out there and I am not a primer expert. Okay, the next step in my makeup routine, literally every single time, and I always beat myself up if I forget, is eyebrows. I have to do the eyebrows first because then like the foundation and the concealer mixes in with the eyebrow product and it just makes your brows look a little like crusty. So just do the brows first. Just trust me, do the brows first. I've been using this Got2b glue gel recently and it is amazing. For years I've been using this one, but it does leave a little bit of a white residue, which I don't really like, I'm not a fan of. But recently they came out with this one. Amazing, amazing. I love this product. I have really stubborn brows, like nothing ever wants to hold up my brows. I swear I've tried so many different products. So if you have stubborn brows like me, this one you need to add to your collection. It holds up my brows so well and it just like lifts them, and the formula is clear so it doesn't leave any like white or like sticky looking residue. And what I do with my brows is I just like pull them up a little bit. I'm not a big fan of the bushy eyebrow looks on me personally, so I do them like a little bit like diagonally, like swept like up but to the side, and that is like my perfect eyebrow look. I feel like I have not done my makeup in so long. I think it's been like a week exactly since Halloween, and I don't even want to talk about how Halloween went. I was so hungover. Never again. Never again. If you follow me on Instagram, then you saw my stories where I was dressed as a flamingo and my boyfriend was a zookeeper, and I'll put some pictures here so you can see. Very cute idea, very cute execution. Like everything was really cute. The night itself was not so cute, and especially not the next day. Like it was terrible. Like I'm never drinking again. Okay, so I've done gel just to kind of lift up my brows, and now I like to go in with a pencil. And honestly, do not overpay for eyebrow pencils. Like you can use any eyebrow pencil. I feel like they all work the same, but I just like this one by Kosas. And now I like to lightly, very lightly fill in my brows. I'm just filling in any like gaps or little areas that I see like maybe need a little bit more hair. And I just do like some light motions like this, only in some areas. And I try to even them out because this one is like missing some hair up here, but I don't know. That's pretty much it for the brows. But if you want like an extra pick-me-up or you really like the fluffy eyebrow look, then you should definitely use like a gel that's like colored. Okay, so I have a couple of examples. They're just literally like colored eyebrow gels. Okay, once you're done with brows, now you're gonna think of this as all your liquid products. So you're gonna go in with your concealer, you're gonna go in with your foundation, like anything that's liquid is what you wanna do next. So I'm gonna do concealer. Recently, Charlotte Tilbury sent me their Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer. I have been loving this. Like I have been reaching for it almost every time. It's so good. You guys know I like the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, and this one is really comparable, except I think it's a little bit more hydrating, which I like. I just realized I totally forgot to use a color corrector. So sometimes like underneath the concealer, you want to add a color corrector, and that just really cancels out the bags. So I forgot to do that, but if you want to do that, definitely do that before the concealer. And I put the concealer on all my spots that are red or all the spots that I want to highlight. Okay, so under the eyes, in between the brows, the chin, the nose, and a little bit swept over here, and that's pretty much it for the concealer. Now what I like to do is I like to let it kind of dry down, because that means more coverage. If you have a concealer that's like super matte, you might not have enough time to let it dry down, but this one, since it's so hydrating, I just leave it alone for a few minutes. And while I leave it alone, I go in with my foundation, and I only use literally like a little bit of foundation. So I only like to wear foundation down here. I do not wear foundation on my forehead. I don't know if that's like a thing. I feel like I've seen people say that they don't like to wear foundation on their forehead. That I'm one of them. I hate wearing foundation on my forehead, especially because I like do this to my forehead all the time. It just like sets into those lines, and then it's really obvious that I'm wearing makeup. So I blend out the foundation while the concealer has more time to sit. Always make sure to blend it into your hairline, into your ear, and underneath like your jawline. This is just gonna give you that like undetectable look. Like no one's gonna be able to tell that you're wearing makeup. No one. And if they can tell, they're lying. They're lying. Totally forgot to mention, I'm using the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. This just gives me like such a glowy finish. I'm pretty sure this is one of those foundations that's like mostly skincare and like half foundation. So that makes sense. Like it just looks really great on the skin. And it does give you some coverage. It's not completely full coverage, but again, I'm not a fan of that. So this foundation is perfect for me. And now that everything's blended out, if you like, just grab your blender and just like press everything in just to really make that like a seamless look. And now it's time to blend out my concealer. And on days where I feel like I need a little bit more coverage, I will just layer a second layer of concealer. For this layer, I'm using the Born This Way concealer. Literally just a dot. And that should do it. I just leave it alone for a couple of minutes and make sure everything else is blended out. So while the concealer kind of sits and dries, I'm actually gonna go ahead and start on contour. And while we're on this topic, the difference between contour and bronzer. Contour is like a cooler color. It's like, think of it as like a grayish color, and that's really gonna like snatch your whole face. Like it's gonna create this shadow here on the nose, like on the jawline. It's really meant to like snatch your face and create like dimension. Bronzer, on the other hand, is more orange toned, and that's more for like a sun-kissed look. It's a warmer look. It's that like, wow, like she's been in the sun, like her skin is like glowing and flushed. That is bronzer. So that's the difference between both of them. My favorite contour ever is the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. I know, I'm a big Charlotte Tilbury girl. I just realized, and honestly, that's not good for my bank account. So I always just use, you see how that's like a grayish color? I mean, it's obviously like brown, but it's got this very like cool tone. And I only use a little bit because I feel like a little bit goes a long way. But I literally use this stuff everywhere. I just feel like it's the perfect like mix between bronzer and contour. And I do this little bit on my nose, and I love to do my lips as well. I feel like people think this looks muddy, but as long as you do it right, I promise, it does not look like crazy. Now I grab an angled brush like this one, and this one is by e.l.f., and I just start to tap everything in. And I'm still letting the concealer kind of dry down, and I always make sure to blend upwards. This just gives you a more defined look down here. And I blend everything into my hairline as well. Because if I just leave it like that, you can like tell, like you can see that right there. So make sure you're always blending it into your hairline. And the bronzer and contour for my forehead, I like to bring that down a little bit just because it really blends in with the concealer. And then you literally cannot tell. Like, no one will sit there and be like,
I can see your bronzer. No, you cannot. You cannot see that. Like, come on.
Now, if you're using one of these like bronzer sticks, in fact, this is so much easier to use. All you do is you tap this into your brush and tap it in. Tap it into your skin just like that. Look at that. Oh my god, that's so pretty. Like, that creates like such a like natural, like bronzed, glowy, seamless look. That was a lot, but that's I was trying to describe it. And you're also free to use a powder bronzer, which is probably so much easier to work with. Like, personally, I'm a fan of cream products because I have dry skin, so I don't want too much powder on my skin. This just gives me like a way glowier finish. Now, to blend out the rest of this concealer, I'm just gonna do this for the sake of the video. You're free to use a brush as well. You definitely don't have to use a beauty blender. In fact, a brush is gonna give you so much coverage. Like, look at that. And I like to bring this into my lids a little bit just to give my lids some coverage, because if you have concealer and makeup everywhere else and then your lids are like naked, that would look weird. Now I'm using this micro blending brush by Eco Tools, and I'm just blending out the rest of the bronzer slash contour. And the way I contour my nose just gives you like a cute little button looking nose, you know what I mean? I always like to bring this into this like brow bone up here, because it just gives you like such a seamless, I know I use the word seamless a lot, but there's no other way to describe it. Like, it just gives you like the perfect like seamless like shadow look. I like to bring it a little bit down here because this is where like the shadow of your lip like meets your chin, like the pout look. So I just bring a little bit down there. Look at that. That does not look like crazy or muddy at all. Now, on days where I really want to snatch up my nose, this Morphe M164 brush, look at that angle. That shape is literally perfect. I used the Shade Plus Light Kat Von D palette. I know Kat Von D is like, you know, questionable sense of makeup in these days, but I've had this palette since I was like junior in high school. Ooh, that's kind of a long time ago actually. Should probably throw this out, but we still have a ton of product in here. And this shadow right here is my favorite. It's either called this one or this one. I'm not sure which like orientation we're looking at here. I take a little bit of that dark contour shadow and I look straight ahead and I just very carefully like chisel out exactly where I want that contour. I don't do this every day, but on days where I do want like an extra, like, just look at that, chisel to my nose, I definitely reach for this. And then I blend it out with this same brush a little bit better, make sure it's really in there. Now for powder. Honestly, I recommend doing the powder way before I did, probably after you do your concealer, just because the powder, the concealer can start to like separate or crease, but as soon as you set it with your powder, it should be good. I like to use the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I've seen a lot of makeup artists not be a fan of this powder, and I don't understand why, because it's literally one of my favorites. Like, I've been using this again since high school. One of my favorites. I just cannot find another powder like this one. I use one of these like setting powder makeup triangle things, and I take the powder, tap off the excess on my hand here, and then tap that into my skin. Now, my secret for a glowy makeup is I only do this like powder step where I place my concealer. So everywhere else where I did like my foundation, I just like to leave that alone. And I literally just work that in. Now I'm gonna take a smaller brush like this one, and then I take a setting powder. This one is the one by Charlotte Tilbury. This is so cute. It's the mini size. Obviously, I love it. I'm gonna get the bigger size, but I wanted to try it out first, which is why I only have the mini. Tap the excess off. I work that into this crease right here. This tends to crease so much, but if I diffuse this powder in there really well, it does not crease. And now your makeup is literally crease proof. If you feel like the powder step kind of took away the bronze look, then just go in with the powder bronzer like I mentioned before, and just, again, just kind of bring this bronzer look back a little bit. But honestly, the powder shouldn't be taking too much away, but if you feel like it did, that's just a little extra way to just kind of bring that bronze look back. And now we're gonna do blush. The way I like to do blush is always use a liquid blush first. We're gonna use one of my favorites, which is the Rare Beauty in the shade Happy. And then go in with a powder blush, and I'm gonna use one that's recently a favorite too, and it's the Persona Cosmetics in the shade Bubble. Look at that. That is so cute. That is so cute. And paired together, these make like the cutest combination. You don't need much of this. This goes a long way, so I only do like 1, 2, 3 little dots here. And I like to blend it out with a brush. I'm using the e.l.f. powder blurring brush, which has nothing to do with blush, but it works. The best way to blend liquid blush is to just tap it in my opinion. You can also use a beauty blender, but honestly, it just completely sucks up the product for me, and then I have to keep reapplying. So I like to just use a brush. I didn't start wearing blush until like my junior year of college. But before, I used to just do my makeup, no blush. No blush, nope. And I also wouldn't wear foundation, so it was only concealer and bronzer. And honestly, it didn't look bad. Like, it still looked cute, but blush just adds a whole other like elevation to your look. If you're not using blush, I definitely recommend you use blush. And if you're not a fan of like the big rosy like cheeks, that's fine. Just use like a really like, here's an example of a blush that's it's not too rosy. It's like the perfect like pastel pink look. And it still gives you this like really pretty natural flush that just makes you look, it honestly makes you kind of look like you're not wearing makeup, or like you're just naturally like,
I'm embarrassed, like I'm blushing.
See? Now, what I like to do as well is I like to take a little bit of blush and put it right here and right there. And then I blend that out right on the tip of my nose. If you're going for like a very like editorial makeup professional look, then you should probably skip this step, because I feel like instead of giving you like a very like professional look, it kind of gives you way more like natural / like rosy look. Now that we're done with liquid blush, I'm gonna take my powder blush. I'm gonna take a fluffy brush like this one. This one is the Blush Brush by Jones Road. Not only does this like set your blush, so it's gonna stay on all day, but it's also just like a pretty color that it adds to your whole look. And some on the tip as well, of course. And that's pretty much it for the blush. If you feel like you over blushed, do not fear. Take the same brush that you used for your foundation and literally just run it over, and it'll get rid of like the overly excessive blush look. But personally, I am a fan of the look. Okay, we are almost done. We're just gonna add like, you know, like the finishing touches, what makes the look. Okay, after all the powders I added, I might sometimes feel like my face is a little bit like too dry, or it kind of looks a little too matte for my liking. So what I like to do is I like to take my rose water facial spray, which is by My Small Business, of course, but you can use any setting spray, or you can use any other like hydrating spray. And I like to just spray this on my skin. And once I've sprayed it, I leave it alone for just a few seconds, and then I take the same beauty blender that I've been using this whole time, and I press that into my skin. And try not to like smile or like wrinkle your forehead so you don't create like any like lines. This not only helps bring back like a glowy look to my skin, but it also helps to set my makeup, and now my makeup lasts all day, I swear. And I just press that in, and that should be enough. And now my makeup is gonna last all day, and my skin literally looks so glowy. But I do want to add like something to my eyes, or like some dimension, just something, just some spice to my eyes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the same bronzer that I used as my powder bronzer before, and I'm literally just gonna put this all over my lid, or my crease. And this is the fun part, because this doesn't even need to be perfect. Like, this is just so easy to do. I promise anybody can do it, and you just can't mess up with this. You just can't. And you can already tell there's like some warmth to my eyes, and you might not even be able to tell that I'm like wearing makeup. That just looks so good. I'm seeing myself with makeup and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just have not seen myself with makeup in so long. I've just been kind of bumming it around my apartment. Now, to really add something cute to the eyes, I'm gonna add this shimmer shade by Urban Decay in the shade Space Cowboy. I'm just gonna take my pinky and literally just put this all over my lid here. And it adds this like really pretty but subtle wet look. It's just a nice way to spice up like an everyday look and bring some attention to like the eyes. I will say though, do I recommend this product itself? Probably not, just because there are so many dupes for this. Like, I'm sure ColourPop has the exact same thing, maybe even more pigmented, for way less. Like, this little thing was like $23, I think. That's just not worth it for me. And once that's all over the lids, like, look at that. I don't know if you can even see that on camera, but it's just this really pretty, like, subtle shimmery look. Now, I like to personally use highlight sticks, so I'm gonna use this e.l.f. Jelly Pop Glow Stick and just put that in some high points on my skin or on my face, just to bring like a little dewiness to my skin. Up here, a little bit here, on my brow bone as well, here, and on my cupid's bow, and then on my chin as well. So when you're using a highlight or like a highlight stick or whatever, you just want to think about, like, if there were a light and it was gonna hit your face, what points would it hit first, right? It would hit obviously your nose first, and then right here, your brow bone, like what parts of your face like stick out. And it would also hit your cheekbones, and that's why people highlight their cheekbones. But I am not a huge fan of that because it brings out so much texture. So I usually just leave that a little bit more matte. All right, y'all, we are almost done. Stay with me, we are almost done. Now for the lashes, I'm gonna go ahead and curl them. This eyelash curler by Japanesque, I think you pronounce it. Best eyelash curler ever. I do have a traditional eyelash curler. They do not work for my lashes. They just do not. Like, they do absolutely nothing for my lashes. Maybe I just haven't tried a good one. This one's by Tweezerman, which is a pretty good brand, but it just does not work. So I always reach for these, and I'm gonna show you how I use it. I literally just take it here, and then you pinch it. And it's so good because it's so tiny, so it grabs like every single lash right at the root. Now I'm gonna use my favorite mascara, which is a telescopic mascara by L'Oreal. And if you follow me on any social media, then you know this is my favorite. I do not overpay for like mascaras because this one works just fine, if not better. And the trick is to just take your time. Like, make sure you're coating every lash and just switch like the angles you do it at. And I feel like that is like the best way to do it. Look at that. That is so pretty. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the lashes. The secret is this combination, I swear on it. Now, for an everyday look, I always use white liner for my bottom waterline. I like using this NYX Jumbo one, although it doesn't last too long, so I will say that if you want something that's like long lasting, this is probably not it, but honestly, I just haven't been able to find one that's like as good and as pigmented as this one. And I just put that all over my waterline, and it just gives me this like awake, bright-eyed look that I love. Also, if you want to put a little bit on your nose. That's so cute. Now, just a couple finishing touches. I like to take a brow pencil and clean this up right here, and then I take a highlight here. I have a highlighter. This is the Champagne Pop by Becca, and then I just take a little bit in my inner corner just to keep those eyes bright and awake. I literally peeled off my entire like gel coat. I did gel nails. I don't know if y'all saw it like on my Instagram reels for my Sunday self-care videos, and I peeled them off. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've done that like 3 times already, and honestly, it's just so fun to just like peel off the gel. I know that's so bad for your nails, but it comes off so easily, which lets me know that I'm doing something wrong, like there's a problem, because it just comes off so easily. And now for the lips, always make sure to clean any makeup product off of your lips. For an everyday look, I always like to reach for a lip liner and a lip gloss, so I'm using the Rare Beauty in the shade Humble, and I lightly line my lips. And once they're lined, I take the Fenty Beauty gloss in the shade Fussy. Oh my god, this gloss is gorgeous. Like, just watch. Look at that. It's just like this, it's like the perfect natural gloss with like some light color and some shimmer. And that's pretty much it for the lips. I saw this one makeup artist one time who does like Kylie Jenner's makeup say that blush is always the first thing to go in your makeup look. Like, it always is like the first thing to disappear on your face. So at the end, he always tops it off with more blush. And ever since then, I'm like, wait, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. All right, besties, this is the finished makeup look. What do we think? I feel like this is just the perfect look for an everyday makeup look. It's not too much, but it's also got some like just spice to it. This whole look does take about 20 to 30 minutes to complete, which I don't think is crazy, but again, you can simplify so many of the steps and literally be done in like 10 to 15 minutes, which I've done before. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if there's a step in your everyday makeup routine that I did not do, because I'm always looking to add more spice to my makeup looks. And as usual, everything will be linked in the description. I like sharing every single product that I use with you guys. I'm very transparent about what I like and what I don't like. So every product that I showed you in this video, I have either been using for years, like I mentioned, since high school, or I just started using, but it's just so great that I had to add it in this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment, and let's stay connected on other social media because I love talking to you guys. Like, I respond to my DMs almost every day, and I have full blown out conversations with some of you guys. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.